Hello and welcome to another edition of the Midlands Saturday Sports Special with me, James Brackpool.
And me, Gary James.
And it's been a busy week in the world of sport, both locally and nationally. Later on, we'll be previewing the Aegon Classic and Queen's tournaments, which head to Birmingham, as well as looking at a promising local boxer.
Well, first, let's hear from Graham Arnold. He joined me on the sofa this week to talk about his charity, United in Hope.
Yeah, right, it's all come about. We're doing a walk. Approximately 20 miles from the Blues ground to Villa Park, from Villa Park to the Hawthorns, from the Hawthorns to Bescott, and then from Bescott to the Golden Palace, the Molyneux. Yeah.
I'm not saying anything.
You'll be arguments in a minute. Shall I come in here? So tell us a bit about why you're doing it and the charity.
It all started 3 years ago when I started doing a walk for Compton Hospice when a friend of ours passed away. And we walked from Bridge North to back into Tublin. And then last year I done one again for Compton Hospice. Again, it was on about 16 miles, but it was about 26 people. And last year, my sister-in-law lost a nephew. It was only one at Birmingham Children's Hospital. Yeah. So I thought this year I'd do it for them because they've done a great job with him. You know, done a great job with the parents as well, and you know, just brilliant. What we do, you know, yeah. Just really,
that's probably
really
one of the hardest.
Yes,
at that, you know,
yes. I mean, it has been hard for all the family, really. I mean, it's just gone 12 months now. I think it's just gone like.
Who came up with the name United in Hope?
Myself and my good lady. We were just having a think, like, you know, what could we call it, like, sort of thing. And I've got all the badges there on my poster, the poster you've probably seen. And I was like, and it was all there. I was like, United in Hope, and my missus was like, yes, that's got to be the one, like. So.
Yeah, it's nice to see a bit of unity with the clubs, isn't it?
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping for, like, you know, just get a few different fans involved. Hopefully, the good ones.
How did drag Colin into it?
I've become friends with Colin on Facebook through the charity football matches, what he does, and the others, like for like the Wolves All Stars and the legends you're doing it and all that. And I just asked him to come along. He's going to come along on a walk with us, and he's flying. Well,
no, we're going by coach.
Getting
back from Barcelona on the Saturday, about midday-ish, in Ipswich, and then I've got to travel into London and overnight to get to the walk. So I'm probably bring my lad as well, and we'll come and do the walk.
On a wheelchair or something.
You'll need something at the end of it.
Like kicks it or something.
No, it's one of those things. You got to do these things. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I've been doing recently is a lot to do with the Wolves and all charities. So, I mean, they're good things, and if you can do them, it's worth going out and doing them.
Well, they are good. There's lots from all our local clubs. Some of the former players, you know, most of them really get behind it, and I don't think there's a week goes by that I'm not notified with some press release of a charity match coming up, and you know, former Blues players, former Baggies, whoever it might be.
I think the thing is with a lot of them is it's the thing where a lot of players want to give back stuff, like sort of they've had their career and stuff like that, and I think some of them miss it as well. Yeah, and it's one of those things where you miss it, you know, and suddenly you get back, and you have little things where kids will come up to you and say silly things, and you just, it brings it all back, and it's the things that you miss, and I think it's nice to be able to still do it and still be remembered every now and again as well. That's the sort of thing I think a lot of the players like.
And now obviously the accent's not a Midlands accent, so you're going to be wearing Wolves colours or your home colours?
I don't know, actually. My lad's got a Wolves shirt, so he'll probably wear that. I mean, I haven't got no Wolves shirts. That'll fit me probably at the moment. So, I mean, if we get me one, I'll wear it.
You can wear mine.
That'll probably be all right.
And how supportive have the clubs been?
Well, with the Albion, I emailed out about any donations I could give for auctions or raffles or whatever, and within 3 days I had a signed football with a proper certificate and everything, like, because it's sound. But Wolves sent me a little A4 picture of Bakary Sakho signed. I managed to get 15 quid for that on auction. £110 I got for the Albion ball, so it was all right. But I've got some friends who work at the Wolves, like friends of friends, and they've got me a signed ball, and that went for £65. And I've got hopefully next week coming a signed Petrov shirt, which you might be interested in. Because a chap I work with, he plays Sunday morning with him.
Yeah.
And he's going to get the shirt signed for me, and I'll get it in a frame and auction that off. And
Well, that's it,
hopefully make some.
every penny counts.
Yeah, yeah.
isn't it?
Hopefully get some off that log sort of thing. So, but as I say, the clubs are just not really too enthusiastic. But I suppose they get bombarded with charity stuff all the time.
That is the problem. That's all the time, isn't it? And at the end of the day, it's like sometimes fans or people requesting do sort of forget is that they're football clubs, but they're businesses.
Yeah.
And every
Yeah,
time
so you
they
gotta
give
think
something out, it's actual cost.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, I remember I did some. I can't remember who I was interviewing now, but somebody at Birmingham City either last season, the season before, and the player after every game used to take his shirt off and throw it into the crowd. And they go, no, you've got to stop this. Because every time you do that, it's like costing the club £20 or £30.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to do it, fine, but we'll deduct it off your wages. Because and probably Premiership, it's a different thing, but certainly then, and people don't always stop and think, football clubs, they've got loads of money. Well, as we know, certainly in this region, one or two at the moment don't.
So Gary, great to hear from Graham there. And as you were saying, football clubs aren't charities, are they? You know, especially at the lower levels. You know, some of them struggle to make a profit.
They do, and they're not charities. As we said on the clip, they're all businesses, and especially the lower clubs. Every time somebody requests a shirt or a ball, it costs the club money.
Yes.
And they get so many requests for it, sometimes I think they try and do a lot for the communities out there. Certainly the top flight clubs, the lower flight maybe not quite so much, because if you like, their signed shirts or their signed balls from the lower clubs maybe aren't as sexy as some top flight, the Blues, the Villa, Walsall, Baggies, etc. And they do try and do what they can.
Yes.
But it's like anything. There's so many charities out there. There's so many charity dinners. There's so many people requesting auction prizes. I don't know if you've ever had it, but I certainly get emails every now and again saying, "Oh, do you know so and so at a football club or a cricket club? Do you have a connection? Any chance we've got this charity dinner coming up? You know, could you ask them for a ball or a signed shirt?" It's a shame. I mean, it's a shame that charities have to be in that position that they've got to try and raise funding themselves to pay for, whether it's a cancer charity, whether it's a heart charity, whether it's something to do with children's charities. In this day and age, you think that we'd be able to fund them without doing this sort of thing, but
yeah, absolutely. But they do what they can, don't they? So
they do a lot out and hopefully on extra time, certainly in the future we'll be trying to get more behind the scenes and look at what they do in the communities. Marvellous.
As you will have seen there, Graham was with former Wolves player Colin Taylor, who started off by telling us about his early career.
No, I think when I started playing when I was a kid, one of the things from Liverpool, you're either a comedian, a footballer,
or both.
Or both. And I was lucky. I got spotted by Everton and I went training down there at Belfield and done that for a year. And then I had crew who were interested and stuff like that. And you get offered all kinds of stuff as a kid. Yeah. Come and sign for us, we'll give you this, we'll give you that.
Were you at Everton when Baz Rathbone was there? As a physiotherapist?
Actually, yes, I could have been. Actually, I'm not too sure.
Okay, sorry, I
it's that sort of. It was close.
It was close to that, wasn't it? When Baz would have been there.
It was close. I mean, most of the people who was there, like Derek Manfield, was there, who eventually come to Wolves.
Yeah.
That's also Villa, didn't he? He played for Villa for a bit, and he was there. And I got to obviously got to know him there and a little bit. And you'd have this thing where, when you're there, people automatically think you don't want to be a number, so you look for options, and crew come along, and then obviously I played for Kirby against Wolverhampton at school level, and I got asked to come down to Wolves, and they were the ones who pushed it more than anyone else.
And you signed professionally, was it 1990?
87, 88, about 89, around about 1989.
Around then, yeah.
So that was I think it was a year and a half into the apprenticeship I'd done, and then I signed.
And what was it like? 'Cause obviously you were a striker, but you had ball and much, so
Yeah, it was hard. I mean, when you're in a situation like that, you've just got to take what comes along. And at times I had, when Andy Mutch was injured, I went to the first game I played was Hull in the League Cup, and got on the coach, and there's only 13 players. Well, at the time, obviously, we only had 2 subs, so I knew it was going to be sub. That was the first thing. And then getting on, it just sort of, it's a big thing, but I don't think you take it in straight away. It just happens. And I got on with it, and I mean, I was 18 at the time. Nowadays, some of them are coming through younger, but I think some of them getting forced through, which is, I don't like. I mean, I'd rather bring them on, like, to a certain level, but 18, 19 is usually the best time for them to come through.
I mean, did you spend much time at Wolves, actually on the bench, or?
Yeah, I spent most of the time on the bench, obviously.
I mean, as a professional footballer, what's that like, especially 18, 19, or any age, I suppose?
I mean, it's hard, but you're also playing in reserves. So you're playing in the week, and you're playing your game in the week, and you play your reserve game, and then you're in the squad. You look on the sheet. Your name's on the sheet. So it's the chance that if you've done well in reserve, you never know, you might get a chance. Who knows?
But is that the same today? Because I get the impression that you would have the first team squad, and if a player played in the reserves, just in case they were injured, I don't know whether it works the same.
It seems a bit weird. I mean, because when I looked at one of the programmes recently, when I was at one of the games, and you got under 17s, 18s, 19s, 20s, 21s, I'm thinking, how the hell do you get to the first team? Because if you're under 17, how do you go from 17s to first team? Because you've got all these teams in front of you. And it's just amazing to see all these, there's so many people there now. I mean, when we were there, you had your first team, you had reserve team, and you had a U team. Yeah. And that was it, really. And you had a few extra lads in the U team, but there was not, the amount of players they've got now, I mean, it must be so hard for them nowadays compared to what we had.
And when you first started at Wolves, was it like as an apprentice and you were cleaning the first team boots and all that back in?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was cleaning Jackie Gallagher's boots, actually. And I was fortunate, I got taken to a first team friendly at Stoke, and they come on, actually, for Jackie Gallagher himself. So it was quite funny in that way. Playing in the first team, I think I was still 15. I was still 15 at the time. It's a bit scary because you're going in with people who know each other, and you're just a kid just coming in and chucked in, and it's like sort of.
Did you get a lot of stick?
No, it weren't too bad because I didn't know. I knew I was travelling with them, but I didn't know I was going to be on the bench. So a few YTS lads we all went down with them, obviously with the boots and for the kit and everything like that, which most clubs do. But I didn't expect anything, and he said my name, and I was like, okay. It's a bit different. And then it's a bit scary. It's more realistic then when you get told to warm up. Yeah. That's a bit different as well. Like,
and do you remember taking to the pitch that first time with the first team?
Yeah, I do. I mean, when I went on, it was the old ground, Stoke's old ground, and you had the away fans on the side. So first thing was the ball come over into that corner. I've gone and shut it down.
So great stuff from Colin there, Gary. Yeah. And we heard him talking about, how he used to scrub the boots of Jackie Gallagher back in the day. Yeah. Do youngsters have it too easy now?
I don't think they have it too easy. I think they have it in a different way. Back in those days, in the 60s, 70s, and probably most of the 80s, apprentices, like Cole was saying, that it was a proper apprenticeship. They did their time playing schoolboy football, playing county school football, playing for Birmingham Boys, for example, that used to be about, and then they got picked by the local clubs. Then they went in, they signed apprentice forms, and it was sweeping the terraces, cleaning the changing rooms out, making cups of tea for the manager, and basically being gophers for the first team squad. But that's how they learnt the trade, and then they trained in between times, and it was a tough life. But they said it's a man's game, and that toughened them up. Today, they come straight in. They're on quite good wages for their age.
Well, this is the thing. There was an article in 2013 in the Telegraph that said it referenced West Brom having raised Berahino's wages to about 14 grand a week. And you think, compared to other footballers, that's not a great deal. But he's still well on the way to being financially secure for the rest of his life at such a young age.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I think it's not an easy life for them. It's harder in a different way because they do have different pressures on them, and there's more media on them now than there was years ago, and they have to be very careful. So they've got pressures from a different thing. I'd rather be an apprentice today rather than I would have been 30 years ago.
But would you have been a better player now or 30 years ago because of the circumstances that you would have had to go through?
I think I'd have been a better player 30 years ago.
And that's the case, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's all for part one. Please join us in part two, where we'll be looking ahead to the Aegon Classic.
Welcome back. You're watching the Midlands Saturday Sports Special with myself, James Brackpool, and Gary James. And it's not long now until the Aegon Classic gets underway at the Priory in Edgbaston. The women's tournament has welcomed many big names in tennis over the years, including Martina Navratilova and also Anna Ivanovic, who was crowned the champion last year. Earlier in the week, our reporter Lois Swinnerton spoke to tennis coach Mark Pecci to see just how important tournaments like this are for tennis in the area.
I think it's huge. I think it's always been part of the calendar up here. It's always been an event which you look to see who's potentially going to do well at Wimbledon as well. So I think that, and particularly this year where you've obviously got a week extra gap between the French Open and Wimbledon, I think it's been great for Birmingham because obviously a lot of the top players have been trying to manage their energy from Paris heading to Wimbledon and trying to get themselves ready for that tournament. But with an extra week, they've got time to get here, play a tournament of the calibre of Birmingham and go on and obviously have another week before Wimbledon. So it's got a strong draw. It's always had a reasonably strong draw, but it's even better this time around and perfectly placed.
As well, keeping in Birmingham, are there any, big names coming up through Birmingham, anyone to look out for?
Well, obviously, Dan Evans, obviously on the men's side of things, has sort of had, some good success and not so much recently, but hopefully he can get it back. He's obviously playing on the grass, so he's obviously been the one person that obviously I'm aware of from around here. But it is tennis traditionally, has been a pretty good sport up here. My mother-in-law coaches at Warwick Boat Club, has done for many years. I spend a lot of time around here. Jeremy Bates used to come from here, so there's definitely some history here, and hopefully, looking at some of these kids here, they've got a bit of natural talent. If you can keep them in the game long enough, you never know, you may get another one coming through.
And I've got to ask you a bit about Murray. You were with him right from the start. How have you seen his career progress?
Yeah, it's been an incredible career. I saw him at 16 actually for the first time up in Scotland before I even coached him, about 18 months before that. And he was always a genuine talent, always felt, that he was going to do something special in the game, and obviously he has done, winning Wimbledon and obviously winning the US Open and the Olympics. He's in a very tough era, and I think that had he been in a different era, he probably would have already had 5 or 6 Grand Slams to his name. But I think looking at him this season and where his tennis is back to after the back problem that he's had, I wouldn't be surprised to see him winning Wimbledon for a second time in a few weeks.
Yeah, so obviously Wimbledon in a few weeks, how do you think he'll be feeling going into that? It would be great for him to win again, wouldn't it?
It would be fantastic for him again as well, because, I think, 2014 was a tough year for him on a number of levels, changed coaches and obviously had to get through the back problems, and maybe nobody really understood just how difficult that was for him and how it was hampering his tennis at the time. I think that what we have seen in the clay court season is that he's fully fit again, and obviously heading into Wimbledon, a tournament where he is a strong favourite heading into it. He may not be the favourite, Novak, even though he lost at the final of French, is probably still in many people's eyes the favourite heading into it. But I think from Andy's point of view, mentally he's back in a place where he feels that he can win Grand Slams, and that obviously happened in Melbourne at the start of the year, and particularly happened on the clay at Roland Garros.
Mark Pecci, who was also former coach of British champion Andy Murray. He shared a few of his tennis tips with children at Eversfield Preparatory School. Lois spoke to Mark to see what this was all about.
Basically trying to encourage kids to participate in tennis, and there's no better way than, as you can see out here right now, kids having fun. You know, that's one of the most important things about any introduction into any sport, and particularly with tennis. I think with the Rebo Wall, it's going to make it a lot of fun. And you know, together with First News and David Lloyd Leisure, they're running a competition that any school can enter to try and win one of these £5,000 Rebo Walls. So there's a pretty great competition and a great idea.
So you're working with these children. How important is it to, you know, get these children in playing sport?
Well, hugely important. I'm a parent myself, so I've got 2 girls, so I know that it's you know, it's something that's challenging at times. You know, you really need to find ways to actively encourage them to get out there and do something. You know, I mean, kids need to be stimulated, you know, not just physically but mentally as well when they're doing the physical activity. And I think something like this in a tough sport, which tennis is, you need a lot of different things to do it well, is absolutely perfect. I mean, the kids, I've been with them for an hour already and they haven't stopped running around and big smiles on their face.
Sometimes tennis isn't the, you know, hockey and football, and they're all ingrained within the sport curriculum really in school. You play it as a team, whereas tennis, it's not really compulsory. I mean, how is this a way of getting those children into tennis?
Well, I agree with you, you know, and there's certain things you can't change. You know, if you've got a soccer field and you can get 22 of, you know, kids playing on it, that's, you know, it's a great use of your space. Tennis, unfortunately, being a tennis court, you can tend to have 2 to 4 kids on it, and so schools do struggle to have it, as you rightly say, as part of the curriculum. That's why I love this Rebo Wall, because basically you can have, you know, 20 kids lined up, hitting tennis balls, having a great time out there, and it's a good use of the space that you have. And, you know, you put 45 minutes into hitting tennis balls and just running around, it's going to encourage them to come back and do it again.
And what sort of feedback have you been having from the kids today?
Yeah, well, a lot of great feedback. I mean, it's not the first time I've done this, and you know, there's no question with tennis. If you play to your standard with the wall, you know, you hit it a certain way, it comes back a certain way. Whenever you play tennis, generally, you need someone down the other end of the court. If they're a lot better than you, then it's not so much fun for them. It's not so much fun for you as well. So for them, if you go ask them now, they'll tell you that they've hit 100 tennis balls today, which they wouldn't have done normally.
And so can you tell me about whereabouts in the Midlands this is being done in schools?
Well, it's obviously here at the moment with David Lloyd Leisure today. We obviously this is the start of hopefully something, you know, unveiling this particular project along with Rebo Walls in not just schools but hopefully in tennis clubs as well. It is something that seems to have gone away a little bit. I grew up playing tennis against the wall. I can assure you that Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic, and everybody that you know, Tim Henman, you know, Andy Murray, would have hit against the wall. And so it's a way to introduce yourself into it, and as I say, for schools it's a great way of utilising space, which is becoming a little bit more cramped these days.
And you know, moving on to tennis within Birmingham, how is this, you know, a really good, you know, grassroots stage for tennis in Birmingham?
Well, I think, you know, traditionally actually tennis at a young age isn't that expensive, you know, but to get kids in, they wouldn't normally come out here, you know. That's the problem, you know. A lot of parents, if you haven't played tennis, why would you push your kid to play tennis? Whereas if you've just got something like this in the playground at school and you've got some rackets lying around, you can come and just whack a few balls against the wall. The kid may come home and say, hey, I love tennis, this is great fun. So you go and look for the local club, which isn't hugely expensive to start with, to go out there and start playing and figure out a way. So it's a way of not just having fun with your kids, but also perhaps finding a sport that other parents wouldn't naturally have allowed their kids to play.
So Gary, great to hear from Mark there, and he sounded very enthused about the fact that the Aegon is coming to Birmingham, and it's great for the area, isn't it?
It is. It always has been. It's been here a number of years now under different guises. I think it's been the Aegon for at least the last 2 or 3 years, I think, and it's great for the area. And a slight negative, but I don't like being negative, is that the LTA for some reason, and I don't know what it is, they don't seem to get behind it as much and push it and promote it and let people of Birmingham and the Midlands know that it's actually taking place. Yes. I don't know why that is, but maybe as we go forward, it might improve. Well, but it's all about communication.
The LTA come under, it's fair to say, a fair bit of criticism for, you know, their sort of pushing of tennis and their promotion of it. You know, there's been criticism over the levels of participation for them. But I mean, surely tournaments like these, it's only great to raise the profile of the sport, certainly in the West Midlands.
Well, it is, and the LTA, on the other positive side, they've put a hell of a lot of money into the Priory over the last few years. It's been millions, I can't exact figure, but that's made the Priory what it is now. And for anyone that hasn't been there, please go this coming week. Because it's fantastic venue now, and it really is the pride of the city. But it needs a bit more publicity for the event. And tennis in the region is starting to pick up a little bit because of the Priory and because of the new facilities they have there now. The indoor courts are incredible. I think it's just a matter of trying to get tennis back into schools as well, I think, a little bit. I don't know about you, when I was at school, we were always playing tennis.
It's a facilities issue, though, isn't it? I mean, you know, some schools who maybe don't have the money, you know, they need half-decent courts to play on. It's a bit of a catch-22, really, because, you know, who's going to provide that money? Is it going to be the council? Is it going to be the LTA? Is it going to be the school itself, you know? But, yeah, you're certainly right. You know, when I was at school as well, which wasn't all that long ago compared to your good self, Gary. But, you know, yeah, we certainly played a lot of tennis.
Well, and there used to be tennis courts in the parks.
Yeah.
They've all gone. But back to just the Aegon, it's great for Birmingham. It brings in quite a lot of money to the fact of hotels, restaurants, bars, everything that's sort of the spin-offs from having these events in the city. It's growing. This year, the prize money is bigger than ever. I think it's $750,000 is the prize money.
Certainly,
and it will attract the bigger names, which is why I think we've got 10 out of the top 20 women players attending. Yeah. I think it's been announced now that Jelena Janovic is now got a wild card, so she'll be here. So it really is good. I just wish more and more people would attend, and perhaps they would if they knew about it.
Well, maybe, you know, they're saying that this is the best lineup in their history, and perhaps that's going to attract the fans. 3 Grand Slam champions, 2 former #1 players in the world. It's, you know, it's a lineup that you can't go wrong with, really.
Yeah, it is. And again, just coming back to British tennis, we seem to go up a little bit. And then we dive because we have like Andy Murray winning Wimbledon a couple of years ago, and a couple of women's players coming through. Then nothing sort of happens. I think at the moment in the field for the Aegon, I think we've got 2 British players. We've got Heather Watson, who I think is definitely playing, and we just need to confirm that. I've forgotten her name now.
Laura Robson.
No, Joanna Conter. Yes. Joanna Conter, that was it. I had a senior moment there. So I was back at school playing tennis, James.
We all have them.
So two British players out of a massive field, really. Yeah. But I don't know. It just needs more money putting in. It's the same, a bit like cricket, really. Maybe the powers that be are a bit stayed in the ways, a bit stubborn. But we need young blood coming through. David Lloyd, as his group of fitness centres and stuff, and obviously big into tennis.
Marvellous indoor courts.
They're doing what they can. Well, we heard it there from Lois's report with Mark. To try and encourage more kids and youngsters to get back involved in tennis. And we've got enough indoor courts now that we can't blame the weather anymore.
No.
Because that was a big one years ago. We don't get the weather over
raining,
here.
We can't step outside.
That's why we don't produce tennis players, because we don't have the sunshine. You know, 52 weeks of the load of rubbish.
But hopefully we'll see some more tennis stars of the future at the Aegon.
This week, brilliant.
Well, that's it for part 2. Join us in part 3, where we'll be looking ahead to that local promising boxer, and we'll be hearing a little bit about ice hockey. See you then.
Welcome back, thanks for joining us. Now, earlier in the week, I spoke to a local up-and-coming boxer called Raza Hamza, and he started off by telling us how and why he got into boxing.
I was 11 years old. My mum had cancer. She had it for 5 or 6 years, and, you know, it was the last stages. Once upon a time, Amir Khan was fighting on TV, just started off, and he was, you know, the talk of the country then, wasn't he? And my mum was watching it, and my mum said to me, one day I'd love to be as big as him. I go, I'll give it a try, Mum. So then she's gone away on holiday, on pilgrimage. And the day she was meant to come back was my amateur debut at the age of 12. I was boxing on the night. She was meant to be back in the afternoon. So I've spoke to her in the morning about 9 a.m. And she told me, I'll see you in a bit. I'll be back. I've gone to school. And then I just heard that my mum died at 12:30 or 1, just before she got into the plane. I was heartbroken. I was all over the place. You know, me and my mum were best friends. So I've been picked up from school, come back, and you know how it is. You be all over the place, and then my uncle had a word with me, pulled me to the side, and goes, "Raza, you have to fight tonight." I go, "How? I'm a 12-year-old kid. How do you expect me to fight without my mum?" And he just said, "Come on, this is what she wanted. This was her dream. You need to dedicate your life, your future, your career to your mum." So I've gone out there on the night. I've boxed. I've beaten somebody pretty comfortably. And then after that, it just got better and better and better for me. And before I knew it, I was winning titles. As an amateur, I boxed all over the country and stuff.
I mean, as an amateur, you did, what, 64 fights, 54 wins? Not bad, is it?
It should have been 64 fights and maybe 60 wins. At times, I've gone to places like Liverpool and just got completely ripped off.
Yeah.
I boxed in other countries and got ripped off, got turned over bad. But yeah, whenever I did lose, I did beat a lot of my opponents in the rematch. I beat them.
But what was... I mean, no, unless you've been there, I suppose no one watching could imagine what you would have gone through at 12 with losing your mom. And from that sad moment and that, I suppose, negative thing, really, it turned into a positive, didn't it? Which is what she would have wanted, and you've taken it by the horns and really gone on with it. Was there any other doubt from that moment on, from that amateur fight on that day, that's what you wanted to be? You were going to be a professional boxer and you were going to get as high as you could and hopefully be a world champion one day?
It weren't my choice no more. You know, I promised my mum I'll do this for her. So even if I didn't like it, once I promised somebody I'll do something, especially if it's my mother, I will do it for her. And there were days, you know, I cried and I didn't want to do it, but my mum just got me through it. There's been times when I've been rock bottom, but my mum gets me back up, and I just kept going and kept going.
And whereabouts in Birmingham were you at? What school were you at?
I went to Broadway School.
Aston?
Perry Bar.
Perry Bar, okay. Yeah. Moving on from some amateur sort of status, and education-wise, what happened when you got to the point of, you know, sort of 15, 16 at school? Because it always gets, doesn't it, Steve, as well? You know, the exam times and stuff. And what happened around there? Because did you concentrate on exams just in case, or did you? Because I know you went to Manchester College, didn't you, at some point? So how did that come about with a boxing career?
When I was in year 10, I got to a national final called the Golden Glove, which is one of the biggest titles you can win in England as a young kid. I lost in that final, but then the following year, in year 11, just before the exams, I won it. I beat the kid who beat me the year before in the final. And then, I mean, with my GCSEs, I had to take them.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go Hopwood College in Manchester, where I had the England trainer training me and stuff. So they told me all I had to get was 3 or 4 GCSEs to get into the college. Right. I turned around and got 6. Because
that college is, for those that don't know, it's a bit like football academies that we know them, where you as a youngster would go to train and to study your sport, but also with the academia side of it as well. And that's probably one of the best for boxers, isn't it, one in Manchester?
It's amazing. I mean, we'd drive up on Sunday night.
No, fly's good. Hey, you come on now.
It's big time. We'd drive up on Sunday night. My dad would drop me off. I'd get picked up on Friday. I'd catch a train back. I had my own house. I had everything there. I needed a cricket pitch to run on the morning. We'd train 3 times a day. All our meals were cooked. We'd go college between 12 and 4 every day and train around that. It was amazing.
And this is like 16, 17?
16, 17, 18.
Okay. And from there, did you still come out with qualifications over and above that, over and above the boxing? Or?
Yes, I'd done a sports course. Yeah. I got overall grade of a merit. I could have gone to university, but at this stage, I had broken another record. I had won the most titles anybody could win coming at the college. And there's been world champions who've gone to that college, but I'd won everything as an amateur.
Well, a heartbreaking story to hear from Raza there, but as you said, Gary, you know, sometimes good things can come from these tragedies. As we've said, Raza is an up-and-coming prospect in the world of boxing, a talent promoter Frank Warren has certainly recognised. Let's take a look at him in action.
Okay. Raza, my time, hands up. Yes, Raza! Come on, Raz! Come on, Raz! For the first round.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Like first professional fight, that wasn't it, back on Valentine's Day, February the 14th this year. And tell us a little bit about the fight.
I was boxing someone called Jack Heath, who had been in with 3 Olympians, but he was a good fighter. And, you know, I thought for my first fight, it's a bit of a step up, but my trainer had believed in me, and I thought I listened to my trainer, whatever he says. So I went out there to enjoy myself, and I knew once I hit someone in my left hand, they're going to sleep, they're going down. And once I caught him, I had pins and needles in my hand, and then I saw his eyes rolled back, and I just jumped on him.
Wow. And literally that was in the first round, couple of minutes, first fight, knockout. Not better start than that, is it?
I mean, some people said it was a better debut than Amir Khan's debut. And the promoter, Frank Warren, and everybody else was very impressed.
Well, of course, you've signed now with Frank. He's right dealer. He had Prince Nassim, of course, and as you just said, Amir Khan there. So you're you know in a great with a great promoter there and a great camp. Just on that, you spoke on the phone, setting this up. You told me that the other day you were sparring with. Go on, name drop.
I've been sparring a few brilliant fighters, but Stuart Hall is a former world champion, and I think he'll be fighting for a world title again soon. For his last 2 camps, I've sparred him twice a week, maybe 3. And this camp, I'm sparring him. He's fighting in August. I'm fighting twice in July, so we'll be helping each other a lot.
Yeah. So the question is, when you're sparring with somebody like that, that's been in the game obviously a little bit longer than you have, you must pick up tips and hints and learn a lot from him, do you?
Yeah. I learn every day in this sport, you know. With life, boxing's like life. You're learning every day. And I learned that you can't show anyone respect in the ring. No matter how good they are, you need to give it 150%, and you need to rely on your fitness, really. And every time I step in the ring now, I know if I ain't having a good day, these guys will knock me out. So I'm just getting better and better and better, and I'm learning things, and my trainer's happy with that.
Because it's John Costello, isn't it?
Yeah, John Costello, my trainer.
Your trainer. Who else is John? Because his name's familiar to me, but who else has he trained?
He trains Jamie Cox, who's 17-0, who's fighting for a WBA international title the night I fight, and his son, Joe Costello.
And now you train around the world?
Yeah, I've been Hong Kong, I've been Thailand, I've been Poland, I've been to a few countries.
And how about Lee Beard, who manages you? How did that come about?
Through John Costello. And Lee Beard works with fighters all over the world too, in America too, and Lee Beard come through John Costello, and now he's with me for 3 years.
And coming up now, your next fight, you've got a couple of fights coming up. As we said earlier, Steve and the guys at Secure It and the guys at Broadway Casino are sponsoring you for the next few fights. So next fight is
July 17, your call, Bethnal Green. Live on Box Nation, that is. So if you can watch it, have a look.
And locally here?
July 24 in Birmingham at the venue. That'll be another Friday night, a week later.
Yeah. Okay. Where? The venue?
The venue in Birmingham.
Birmingham. Okay. The venue I'm trying to place.
It was Tower Ballroom. Everyone knows it.
Oh, Edgbaston.
Yeah,
Tower Ballroom. Yeah, by the reservoir there. Ah, yes, I remember the Tower Ballroom well. Just about.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm too young.
My dad told me lots more about it, but Thursday night at the Tower Ballroom. Hey, that's another story.
So you wouldn't want to step in the ring with Razza, would you, after seeing him there, Gary?
No, I certainly wouldn't. And as you said, he's a great bloke, and and the backstory is there. But you know, that first fight in the clip we've just seen, incredible. If he keeps going like that, he'll have a fantastic career in front of him. And I think we're looking forward to his next couple of fights.
Absolutely.
And certainly the one he's in Birmingham, isn't he? I think we said.
Yes.
Coming up later in the year. But a great guy, a good attitude. And we wish him all the well, and I think he's going to go a long way. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if he's not a world champion at a weight one day.
Well, he had people, I mean, he was talking to us, wasn't he, after the show, and he's had comments saying that his first pro fight was better than Amir Khan's, and you look at what Amir Khan's gone on to achieve. Yeah. He's pushing for the Floyd Mayweather fight at the moment, and if Raza could follow that trajectory, it'd be something else. But it was nice to see that Raza was in good company as well. He's got good people looking after him, and I think that's always beneficial.
Well, it is, because I think we asked him on Extra Time that about behind the scenes, and okay, he said that he sort of wasn't conscious of that as such. Now he's just started out on his career, but that's when it should start, really. It's like other sports and sports people. They're concentrating on the career. They hope that they've got good people with them to look after, mainly the finances and the things that goes on, because the day will come when he can't box anymore, or he might get injured all of a sudden. I mean, he's only a youngster. Who knows? The next fight, all of a sudden, something could happen, and he might not, and he needs that support mechanism behind him.
And as a whole, the boxing scene in the West Midlands is looking very healthy at the moment.
It's fantastic. In the last 2, maybe 3 years, it's come on leaps and bounds. It did just die a death for a while, I think, and I think much was happening. And then all of a sudden, there's this massive resurgence of it. And I know, hopefully, we're going to start showing a lot more boxing on big centre TV, because there's more of it about, and some good stuff about. We've shown some bouts on a Friday night. We've got a load more to come. Certainly with UKO, which is the PR side of boxing, run by Dan Mole, and he's got some good bouts coming up that he's PRing. And I think you've got some guests on Extra Time this coming week.
Yes, Well, they're fighting in the Independence Day bout in Walsall on the 4th of July. We've also got Ryan Aston, another sort of good local boxing talent, fighting in Cannock at the Chase Leisure Centre on the 11th of July. That bill will also feature Rob Hunt against Amir Unsworth for the Midlands area welterweight title, and Lennox Clark will be fighting, who is the unbeaten super middleweight. So, great stuff to go and see if you can get there.
Yep, it is, and keep on watching us because and Big Centre TV, because we've got loads of it coming up, loads of boxing.
Now, next week, we'll be showing an Extra Time from Telford Ice Rink, the home of Telford Tigers Ice Hockey Club. And we've got a sneak preview for you right now. Our colleague Anne-Marie Beaujean managed to sneak into the dressing room and speak to the coach, Tom Watkins.
And in terms of players, I mean, if there was a young lad who said, this is all I want to do, this is all I've wanted to do, and they said, this is a video of me, are you that open to kind of getting new players involved and looking for talent?
I've got my email out on several databases for hockey every season. Even though the club's changed, we still go back to the same things that we did when we were here as a trust team. For me, the mentality, the ethos is no different. We still have our trials. We're still looking at young players. I still get out to watch the hockey. I'm out here every Tuesday night with the 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds and trying to give them some love for the game that we've had, and trying to be able to help pass on some of the experience that not just myself. There's a lot of the guys in the dressing room that get out and help with the juniors. So we're open to every email. There's always something that might fall into your lap that you're not aware of. So I would never discount anything or anybody. Let the players come just for a few skates so we can have a look and see where they might fit in. It's not just now the Tigers EPL team that we've got. We've got a very strong NIHL team that we're going to use part of our development system for our depth players, give them more opportunity to play in key situations, make them accountability, know what it's like to play in pressure situations. So when they come up here, they're full of confidence. They're full of, they've got a high level of fitness, and they're comfortable playing within the Tiger system. It's going to be no different from the way that we play. So everybody has that little bit of continuity and that little bit of flow from team to team where they should be able to succeed.
I know with football, obviously there's a massive issue about grassroots football. Is it kind of the same for ice hockey? Do you believe that people need to get out on the ice from the get-go and get used to it?
I think ice hockey has a huge problem, way bigger than football. Football's pretty...
So Gary, great to hear from Tom Watkins there. He's sounding very enthusiastic about the Tigers, way of scouting talent, and we also spoke to Wayne Scholes, which we'll see in the Extra Time episode.
Yeah, because he's the owner, isn't he, of Telford Tigers?
He's been compared to he's been labelled the Roman Abramovich of ice hockey. He has.
I can believe that snippet I saw from what you did.
He's in January 2013, the Telford Tigers had lost their 23rd match in a row. And things were looking bleak. Wayne Scholes steps in, much the same to the way Abramovich stepped in 2003 or 4, I believe it was. Yeah. And last season, they won the league and they won the cup. and it's just marvellous, isn't it, what he's done for that club?
It is good because he's obviously money helps and put it in what he's done with them. But I think that, I mean, I've only briefly spoken to him. I know you've met him, obviously. And it's just his attitude. It's a can-do, will-do, positive.
If he wants to
if he wants it to happen, it'll happen.
Yeah.
And as you say, that's why I can see that the link with Abramovich is, OK, I want that to happen. What do I do to make it happen? If it needs a check, it's a check. Well, but it's for the benefit of the club and the supporters.
Wayne also makes the point that, you know, it's fine, he's come in, he's supplied the money, it's obviously helped a huge deal. But he's arguing the case that he's merely putting the Tigers on a level playing field, because he said the club that were operating on roughly 1/10 of the budget that other clubs in the league were operating on. And which is a fair point to make, you know. He doesn't want people to think that it's simply money that bought this success. A lot of hard work has to go into it, doesn't it?
And obviously the players, the quality of players are there. And they're looking for the way Tom was saying that new players are coming through and the way they look and breed them. And as a sport, it's one of those sports, I think, certainly here in the UK, that is growing even more now. I mean, it's quite big, isn't it? And hopefully we can do our part on Big Centre TV and start showing a lot. I know you, like you said there, we're going to be showing something next week for that, and more of it, hopefully, as the season progresses. So hopefully we can do our bit in the Midlands to get more bums on seats and maybe more people interested. But no, it's a great guy. More people like him in sport would help, and that level playing field is right. But you say that, but it's been proven in football, hasn't it? Yeah, you can throw loads of money at it, but if they don't play as a team and work hard, it doesn't matter who you got on the pitch.
That's very true, Gary, but great for the Midlands nonetheless. That's it for this week. Thank you for watching. Gary, thank you for keeping Paul's seat warm whilst he's been having a glass or two of sangria.
Was he?
Well, that's what I've heard. Paul will be back next week, along with, hopefully, former boxing correspondent for the Birmingham Mail, Ian Johnson. Take care.
Bye-bye.